You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Trio. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's episode, we have Ritamozo, who is with the NOSOTROS Education Center, to talk about her educational journey, managing various Trio programs, how and why she founded NOSOTROS Education Center. So coming up in just a bit, Ritamozo. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario O'Reilly, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Angelica Valdez, Jaded Electronics, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 3 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month goes a long way in supporting this podcast. If you own a business and would like to run an ad on our podcast, send us a message at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is at Let's Talk Trio. One more time, that handle is at Let's Talk Trio. Any amount is truly appreciated. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. You can also nominate a participant, alumni, advocate, or staff member via our website. The link is provided in our episode description. Again, a great episode featuring Ritamozo, who is the executive director and founder of NOSOTROS Education Center. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is the founder and executive director for NOSOTROS Education Center, an organization committed to assisting Trio and nonprofit programs secure funding, all while providing assistance in getting their grant programs up and running. She graduated from the University of Texas at Austin with her bachelor's degree in business administration and obtained a master's degree in business administration through Texas Women's University. Our guest has experience working with the Trio programs as a staff member, advocate, and now a service provider. In her free time, my guest enjoys playing pickleball and hanging out with her family. Welcome to the podcast, Lisa Ritamozo. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Juan. I really thank you for asking me to be part of this. Trio is my life. So Trio Talks, I love it. Bring it on.
Awesome. So wonderful to have you. I appreciate you being on here to discuss your Trio background, your company, and a variety of other topics. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Me too.
So are you based out of and live in Texas?
Yes. Originally, I'm a California girl. I was raised outside of San Francisco in a little town called Burlingame right by the airport. That's important to note because my dad worked at the airport first as a cleaner of the airplanes, and then he got promoted to be working on the ramp with the baggage handlers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of his connection with American Airlines that we ended up in Dallas, because Dallas is the hub for American Airlines. So in the mid 80s, he was given a promotion and he grabbed it, brought his family out here to Dallas. And so that was in 1985, right in the middle of high school. It was the end of the world for me at the time. I thought I was going to die. But Central Texas or North Texas has been my home since 1985. I left for a while to go to school in Austin, worked in Fort Worth for about 11 years. And then we've been here in north of Dallas, about 35 minutes, more like an hour in traffic from downtown Dallas, in a city called Allen, Texas, which is about less than an hour from the Oklahoma border. So this is where I'm right now. And I like being here because I can make it to the airport within like 45 minutes, DFW, and then travel to any part of the country when I used to travel a lot within 2 or 3 hours. So centrally located. So yes, I'm a California girl, but been here since 85. So I feel like I've become a Texan.
That's awesome. Right on. So something you and I share in common. I'm also originally from Los Angeles, originally from California, but from Los Angeles.
Okay, there you go. See, kindred spirits, right? You all have that California blood. And I wish, if I could, I would go back, but I can't afford to live in.
Oh my gosh, no, yeah. It's crazy out there.
I'm spoiled here. I could never have the space that I have here back there, but it's home now here, Texas. So good.
Absolutely. I hear you. Are you feeling at all the fall weather in Texas, or not quite yet? How would you describe the weather to someone who is not from Texas?
Funny you should mention that, because we finally have our first freeze warning. Okay. But really? I will tell you, Friday, it was 85 degrees and I was in the pool with my son, on Friday. And we tell people in Texas, look, if you're going to come anytime between June and September, October, you better be prepared it's going to be hot, and this like a pizza oven during June, July, and August. Like you walked out into an oven. That was my first impression when I moved from the Bay Area in August. But now this time of year, we literally go through probably all 4 seasons practically in one day. So you may start chilly in the morning with the heater on, and by 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you're turning on the air conditioner again because it's getting hot and stuffy. And then the heater kicks back on at night. So between October, November, December, and January, we're kind of in that kind of world. But the Texas weather, you've heard it changes like crazy. But I love it here. I got used to it.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. We are recording this episode at the end of October. I didn't realize when I wrote the script, it was like already near. And I was like, no, we're at the end of October. We have about 2 months left into this year. Are there any items on your to-do list before this year is out?
Yes. In fact, I'm trying to wrap up. We have a lot of project evaluations that we started with TRIO programs in the summer, and those are a long-term effort. Compliance assessments too. We go back and forth getting folks into compliance. We do that virtually as well. And I like that because it gives us time to go back and forth, but it's a little slower pace, but it's good because we get things updated and completed. So I'm trying to wrap those up. APRs, I'm trying to help people wrap up their APRs before the holiday season. Thankfully, we don't have any grant proposals right now that are due before the end of the year, but we have a lot of stuff happening in the spring. So I'm trying to tie up those loose ends right now and help people with their APRs so that, number one, it doesn't ruin their holiday season, and number two, it doesn't ruin my holiday season. Right. Because we got a big Retamozo family reunion Christmas happening. It's the first time in over 25 years that me and my 3 sisters are going to be here under one roof with my parents and our husbands and our kids. So we're really going to do it up. So I don't want to do any work during that time.
Absolutely. I hear you. I think when the holidays approach, you really don't want to be thinking about any, work or anything like that. Absolutely. I hear you on that.
Definitely. But the last couple of years I've been working the whole holiday season because of grant proposals, right? Because we had UB, Talent Search, the TRIO grants were, just in the middle of it. And now we have this Christmas where we kind of don't have a proposal competition due in January or in December. So I'm taking advantage of it because I'll be busy then again.
Well, good for you. I'm so glad you'll be able to get to enjoy some time with the family.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
What is something that you're proud to have accomplished this year in 2023?
Wow, 2023 has been a great year for us. You know, we ended up with hitting our $775 million in federal funding that
Whoa.
we've been able to get for our clients, agencies, and universities across the country
Hmm.
in federal funding. And then, you know, it's not just about the money, because then I think, you know, of course, everyone always initially talks about the money, but then I have
Right.
to remind myself that this is funding so that they can continue or in the future also serve people, students, you know.
That's right.
So we're really excited about that, that not only, of course, the colleges and agencies are happy about the money, but we think, or having been a service provider myself and also a director of these educational opportunity programs, I remember how, and knowing that the money of course does impact these lives and helps students and their families do better and end up, you know, going to college, staying in college. So it's really, really exciting to be part of that. The other thing I'm really proud about is that my company was selected to be one of the Longhorn 100 recipients. It was their first year they did that. And this is through the University of Texas, their alumni association. And they're, you know, we've got about 65,000 alumni across the world.
Hmm.
And they requested, or I was nominated, and it was intense. I mean, they had an accounting firm that calculated our company's compounded annual growth rate,
Hmm.
something I hadn't looked at since I left business school. And I was like, what is this? I had to look it up again. So they were doing it based on sales. So I
Wow.
had a feeling and growth
Hmm.
for how we did between the years of 2019 and 2021. And so they had this intensive formula, and we came out, and we were told that we were one of the top 100, and they brought us down to Austin and you know, just pulled the stops. I felt like a celebrity. I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, whoa.
That's so
And we
cool.
ended up being number 37, and I was so
Wow.
proud
Out of
of
a
that.
hundred.
Out of 100, number 37, me, myself, and I, and my team, you know, we had our table of our own. It was packed. It was a wonderful celebration. But what makes me so proud of it is that it was based on sales. It
Hmm.
wasn't based on because I was a Hispanic female, you know, it was business. And I was like,
Hmm.
yes, you know, and having your own company, you don't get to have your service awards like with the university or with your association, because you're doing your own thing. So you kind of feel like, you know, you're out there, and are you actually doing something that can be recognized? And, you know, yes, we love it when our clients get funded and they say thank you, and now we can serve more students. But it sure is heck of a nice, at least for one day, to be treated like a VIP at UT Austin. You're, you know, where you went to college, and you're so proud of going to college there. And you know, reaping the, I guess, being honored for the hard work of years and years of thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to make payroll? Am I going to be able to pay
Hmm.
the mortgage? You know, is this going to continue? So it was super, super awesome. So that's how my 2023 went. And we're applying, they asked us to apply again because it's an annual event. So I'm going for
Wow.
it. I'm trying to make it.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, congratulations on all the accolades
Thank
and the
you.
wonderful recognition,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
So wonderful, great things happening with you. So got to kind of refer back to your intro. How did you get interested in pickleball? How did that happen for you?
Well, you see, I actually started playing tennis when I was 10 years old.
Hmm.
So I played it. I mean, I loved it. So I had lessons and a coach. You know, if I'd had any real talent, I would have been a professional. But I was one of those that had the desire and the want, but didn't have the talent, the actual talent to do it. But I did pretty well, you know, to play in high school, and I played a little bit in college, and then stepped away for a while, started busy working, raising my family, got sucked back into it after 20-year break of not even picking up a racket. And in my first year coming back, joined a team that was a national part of a league, and long story short, we ended up going to nationals in
Oh, whoa,
2013, and
cool.
women's nationals teams. We didn't win, but then it came back the year later, 2014, playing mixed doubles. So I was hooked again
Hmm.
in our amateur league, you know, competitive tennis. And then I found pickleball, and I thought, this is a crazy little thing. I don't think I like this, you know. But then I played it, and I got hooked, because to me it's more exciting,
Hmm.
more exhilarating than tennis, more lively, faster. And so I haven't looked back. So now I'm playing pickleball and I'm on a league and we're number one going into our final match on Friday. As you can tell, I'm a little bit of a competitive person. And we hope that's our final match. So if we win, we'll be number one in our league here in Dallas.
That's wonderful, Lisa. That's wonderful. What do you like to do with your family when you're hanging out with them?
I like to just chill. You can tell competitive. I finally put that aside, or the grant competitions. I love to hang out with my son and just, watch sports, again, competitive, hang out in the backyard, and, just kind of decompress and not look at my phone as much because I gotta stop it. I got to put down the phone. So that's what I like to do. That's what I'm looking forward to Christmas, where everyone else is on break. And so I will be tempted to look at emails or text messages coming in.
Wonderful. Lisa, we're going to rewind the clocks a little bit. Can you share about your family and what your upbringing was like?
Sure, would love to. My parents are born and raised in Lima, Peru. So they came to the United States back in the 60s. My dad came, someone sponsored him and he wanted to come here. I guess he was in his early 20s because he knew back in Peru he had maxed out because, he didn't have the proper upbringing there and didn't have money to go to college. And, that old cliche about the American dream. And thank God, he had the courage and the guts. I don't know if I could have. I'd like to think that I would. Maybe I get my spirit from him, but he made that jump because he really didn't know anybody here. And then, after a while working everything, he reminds me of all the things he did because he wanted to go to college. But came the time that, he needed to get a wife, right? So then he went back to the motherland, right, to get himself a Peruvian wife. Told it, gave himself a timeline of like, I'll be back in 3 months. And sure enough, he met my mom, got married, and brought her back within 3 months. And I was born there. And then we were born in a community where everyone was from Latin America in that part of San Francisco. So long story short, by the time I was 5 years old, I didn't speak any English. Having been born in the United States, I only spoke Spanish because I didn't need to until I went to kindergarten and there was no ESL. And so that's why initially my first interaction with school was not good because I was away from my parents. I couldn't speak any English. So that was really, really rough. But my sisters came along. So we grew up there and my parents were always working. So I remember always taking care of my younger siblings. And I thought at the time, I'm never going to have kids because I'm so tired of babysitting my sisters, I never want to work with kids, and then I ended up spending my whole career, working with students and kids, so, be careful what you wish for.
The way things worked out. Yep.
Right. And so that's kind of the story of how my parents came over here. And so again, growing up initially in an area that we had a lot of folks that looked like me. And then we moved to the suburbs. And there was not that many people that looked like me. Hence, when I went to that school, there was no ESL. I had to learn English fast. Wow. And then when we moved to Texas, just by coincidence, we moved to an area, a suburb, where I was now still the only, me and a handful of other Hispanic students and African-American students at the time. So it wasn't until I went to UT Austin where I actually felt that I was around other folks like me, other Hispanics. Now, of course, the high school and all that, it's a different demographic. But back then in the 80s, there weren't that many of us here. It's funny because I remember going to UT Austin and meeting people from the Valley, other parts of Southern Texas, the border, that also were going to UT. And I would tell them, wow, it's so cool that there's so many Hispanics here. And they'd look at me and say, girl, are you kidding me? This is nothing. This is nothing from where we come from. So it was just, to me, like, wow. They think there's not that many of us here. And I'm overwhelmed at how many of us are here at UT. So just a different perspective, how we grew up, them, in areas where everyone was like them, me versus where I wasn't, just me and my sisters and a handful of other folks. You knew who was Hispanic or Black at our high school, just a handful of us. And over there, it's like everybody was. So it was just really interesting.
Wow. How would your family describe you?
Strong-willed, I think it would be. I'm
I like that
first baby, so I'm cleaning it up. Strong-willed, but I think they would say that I am loyal. I'm fierce. And I'm resilient as well. I think that's how they would describe me as. But number one, strong-headed.
Right. Okay. Right on. So you mentioned earlier that school was kind of a hesitation for you, or you felt a little bit like not feeling it. So what drew you in, or what motivated you to stay in school?
Well, like I said, initially it was not a good thing because it was away from my mother. I didn't understand the language. It was awful. I mean, if they had offered therapy back when I was 5 years old about that, I
Oh.
was traumatized by it. And
Hmm.
at the time, you wouldn't do that. Now things are different. Now, I mean, now you wouldn't dare do that to a student. You'd do ESL, you'd offer counseling and things like that, yada, yada, yada. But I think what really got me out of my shell or wanted me to go to school was reading the books. Even though I didn't
Reading.
understand what they were saying, I was intrigued that words had meanings and that there was a story. And I remember checking out books, or, when you're little, they let you bring books home from school. And I thought that was the biggest, that was so cool that I could bring a book home. And I'd make my poor mother read it. Well, my mother didn't know English, but she
Oh.
pretended.
Yeah.
I would say, read it, read it, read it. And she was like, I get all, and she would read to me in Spanish, making up making up words based off of the pictures
Yeah.
because she wanted it. And so that kept me going, that I'd always bring a different book so that my mom could, bless her heart, make up a story to go
Yeah.
along with the book because she couldn't read it either.
Yeah. Ultimate improv.
Yeah, exactly. My mom's good now. She, to this day, she will make it work. And so that's what I like doing, is reading. And then I got into sports, and I really love that.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, you somebody always needs something. You need a motivator. You need just one thing, if anything, to keep you coming back and staying there. And then you notice all the other things that you get to benefit from.
Wonderful. So aside from reading and sports, were there any other subjects that really spoke to you?
History. I liked history and government as well. I was intrigued by that, always kind of curious to find out, well, what happened back then? Or I heard, even now, when I hear about something, and I wish, what, if I had the time, I would love to go back to grad school and study history.
Hmm.
Just, not that I'm using it for my job. We're so busy, I got to get a degree so I can pay the bills and do this and this. But
Right.
if I was like won the lottery and I could study anything, oh my God, I'd throw myself into history because I'm
Wow.
curious now. And I wish I guess I didn't have the time when I was younger to be curious about it. But now I'm like intrigued. How did this happen? Especially, what's going on in the world today with what we
Certainly.
see. I'm intrigued by that. It's so much in the news. And I'm like, why is there so much? I realize there's so much conflict, but I really want to know the history. How far back does this battle go? And it's
Absolutely.
fascinating to me. And I
Hmm.
wish I had known about the history earlier. But anyway, so that's what
Wow.
intrigues
That's wonderful. So I majored in history, and I totally get that
me. You
feeling
know what I
like
mean?
you would dive into history. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
would I would love it. I love all those specials on TV, documentaries about, I would love to spend years and days just watching stuff like that, or living it, or visiting places too, historical places.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did your family stress the importance of an education?
Yes, they always stressed it. I mean, like I said, my dad came here initially to go to college. My mom, bless her heart, the one who was making up stories,
Yeah.
managed to tell
Aw.
me, bless her heart, she had to stop going to school when she was in third grade in Peru to start working. But I wish I had 10% of my parents' brains. I just had 1,000,000% more opportunities,
Mm.
but they're the real smart ones. I could only imagine how far they would have gone academically with their brain power and their perseverance. But yes, so it was always understood, but bless their heart, they didn't know how to do it, where to go, or how to pay for it. And I never knew about Trio until I started working for Trio.
Mm.
But that underlying support, like almost like, oh, you can do it. They always made me feel like I could do it, but they couldn't tell me how to do it. So that was the missing link.
Uh-huh.
I feel that you feel I can do it, but
Mm.
hello, I kind of
Mm.
need the feeling that the support was there, but what wasn't there was the knowledge as to how.
Right.
If I hadn't had the support, I wouldn't have gone or even
Yeah.
felt capable of the steps to get the details, right?
Yeah.
And how I got the details was from actually a friend, and I followed her. But my parents had no clue, but they did. I could feel the support that you can do this and you need to do this.
That seems to be a running theme with first generation college students, is that they feel the support from the family, but not quite like the steps on how to do college, right?
Exactly. They had no clue. Some, like I said, great. Thanks for your support and thanks for the cheerleading, the pep talk. You can do it. We love you no matter what. I'm like, but I still don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. How are we going to pay for this?
Mhm.
Oh, you'll figure it out. We always figure it out. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I felt like I had to go, but I felt that I was going to go for a semester just to
Mhm.
make them happy. And then I was going to just not go back because there was no way I was going to be academically successful because I had no clue what it took to be in college. To me, it was super hard and super
Mhm.
expensive. So just to go for a semester, not even to complete the semester, was my goal.
Okay. Okay. So was college part of the family discussion as you started thinking about, okay, feel the support from the family, but now we got to make a discussion because, like you said, finances come into it, your schedule, things like that. Was college part of that discussion?
It only was because I had a good friend that was going to go because she had 7 brothers and sisters older than her, and they're from New York. They were an Irish American family.
Whoa.
So she had all these, so she knew that it could happen. And she was also, she would tell me, bless her heart, she goes, okay, you know how goofy my older brother is. If he can do it, we can do it. So it was one of those comparison things. And
I love
so
that.
I latched on to, I said, hey, sounds like a good plan. Thank God. I don't think I could have done it. I know I couldn't have done it by myself, but because we were best friends and best friends do everything together,
Hmm.
she took the lead, I was the follower. And my parents were very pleased with that because then they knew I had a plan and they thought, great, at least one of them knows what to do because of her older brothers and sisters ins and outs. And my friend had a very detailed plan, thank God for her, because she'd seen what worked with her older brothers and sisters and what had not. And so we were working off of their successes and also avoiding their mistakes. So she basically became my college counselor
Oh,
as a
wow.
16-year-old. And I said, you know what? If she had said, let's jump off that cliff, I promise you it's going to work out. I would said, hey, let's go. So I was a total follower, but thank God I followed the right person, right? Because some of our kids follow the wrong person.
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
This person, and to this day, she's my best friend. And so,
Wonderful.
and so when I got that award, she was the first person I told. And I told her, if it
Oh,
hadn't been for
yeah.
you, this wouldn't have not been possible. So this is your award too.
That's wonderful. So we get a little bit of sense of how you prepared for college then. Tell us, what other ways did you prepare? Definitely following the footsteps of somebody else that is already applied for college or is going to apply
Mhm.
definitely helps. What other things did you do to prepare?
Gosh, well, I can't honestly, I was thinking, what did I do to prepare? This would not work nowadays, kids out there, anyone listening to, you want to prepare ahead of time. You want to, you know what? I take it back. What saved my behind was that I loved to read. And if
Mm,
you don't love to read, make sure you learn to love to read because you're
yes,
sunk. Because in history, it's reading papers, reading, even in math, reading. And had
absolutely.
I not loved to read and excelled in advanced placement English, I think things would have turned out very differently. So I think by accident,
Hmm.
because of my love of reading, remember little girl bringing home books that I couldn't even read, but I knew there was a story there.
Yeah.
Um, it just made me, by accident, prepare for college. But, right now, as in my, as a professional, I would tell students, read. I don't care what it is, read. Even if you're on the web, read whatever you can. Make sure you're well versed in reading. Push yourself to read different things. Be aware of what's out there besides just social media. There's great resources now. Remember, we'd have to go to a library, get a library card, and be restricted. Now there's so much things you could devour and read. And I think that's what by accident prepared me the best for college, is reading and learning how to write effectively.
Wonderful. Why did you choose the University of Texas at Austin?
My friend. She chose for me.
Okay, fair enough.
I thought, what should I say? I thought about, did a campus tour, and I looked at the degree programs and thought this. No, she said we were going there. I said, okay, but we took a different route. We first went to the community college to get our basics out and
Oh, that's smart.
not pay as much money. Right. And then we were also concurrently enrolled at the local university, which was the University of Texas at Arlington. So all the classes we took there would transfer to UT Austin. So my friend planned it out so that we didn't lose a single credit. Like some people, like her brothers and sisters had lost credits. So she said, we ain't playing that. We're going to stay on that path. So, that's really what, because of her, because here in Texas, we're going to UT Austin or Texas A&M. And we gravitated to UT Austin.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Did you receive any support as you worked toward being admitted to UT? Now, I heard you say community college with the University of Texas at Arlington. And then what other external or maybe internal supports did you receive?
I didn't really get any, let me take that back. I got some scholarships at the junior college because I had a really good GPA. Because remember, I went in there to fail. So I was like, you know what? Let me try to do really good at first. And so I studied like crazy because it's going to get harder. Right. So I studied. And then I got my first test. I got an A in all my tests. And I said, okay, well, next week it's going to really be hard. So I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Any day now it's going to be super hard.
Right.
And not overstudying, but that anticipation or expecting that I would not be successful actually helped me, because I was like worried that I was going to be sent home. Not, you can't be sent home, but you know what I mean? Flunk out of
totally.
college.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing well, that I had a 4.0 my first semester as a freshman in college. And I was like,
wonderful.
What? So I applied for scholarships and things like that. And I thought, you know what? But I figured out there is a system. There's a way, and that same system has helped me later on when you find out how the professors want their answers, what questions they ask and what they stress and focus on. So you think, I bet he's going to ask me about that later. So let me focus on that. So I kind of was picking up clues on how to do well on exams and papers based on following their lead, right? And that has helped me now when I look at a RFP for a proposal. I look to see what they're focused on. And I said, well, they spent a lot of time talking about that, so I probably should address that or use their own language back in the responses. And so that would kind of connect there. When I got to UT Austin, though, actually someone from their counseling department sought me out because I had a pretty decent GPA and I guess I was Hispanic. They were starting a minority peer counseling program. And so they asked me to be, since by that time I was, starting to be a junior in college, I had enough hours to come in as a junior student. So they saw me as an older student to mentor incoming freshmen.
Oh.
So it was ironic, right? That someone who only went to college because her friend said, we're going to go.
That worked
and
out.
Who had no idea how to go. It was just following her that when I get to UT Austin, the University of Texas at Austin, that they would tap my shoulder and ask me, would you mind mentoring a younger, incoming Hispanic student? And I said, okay. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be mentoring. But let me tell you, that experience of helping somebody go through what I had gone through, I guess I was replicating what my friend had helped me. She was my advisor, my mentor. So my peer mentor. So I in turn did that for this student. And I kept telling the student, I still say that to this day, look, I'm not any smarter than you. I've just made more mistakes. So learn from my mistakes. And I really enjoyed it. But by that time, someone had said, well, have you thought about being a counselor? By that time, I was so deep into getting my business degree. And I was like, what? I can't just all of a sudden start over. So this is a nice little hobby. I'm going to go into international business. This is nice to help. It looks good on my resume. I enjoy it. Maybe I'll do it, volunteer later on, but I got to go. I got to move on and get my business degree. So I actually didn't get any support directly, but I was giving support. So I guess in a way it's helped me in a way think, here I am telling these people what to do, that I can't, like, next semester when they come looking for me, be gone, because I dropped. So it's kind of like I felt almost a little bit of responsibility that I got to, maintain the looks of someone who is a mentor, so to speak, even if I'm still struggling myself.
No, but still, I mean, I think a couple things that you said that I really want to highlight. One, you said preparing to fail, or even going in without that fear of failure. Because I think for first generation students, that becomes kind of a thing that holds us back sometimes, is like, what if I fail? Right. And I love that you're reframing it and saying, if you're prepared to fail, like, how's that going to bother you? A setback, right? Like it's a shrug of the shoulders and go, okay, keep going. So that's
Right.
amazing, first of all. And second is being able to, when you have greatness thrust upon you and you're saying, hey, you're now going to mentor these students. That's an amazing opportunity. I love that. So I just want to quickly highlight those two things. So that's amazing.
Thank you. But yes, I was not afraid to fail because I knew it was going to happen. So why not in my mind? So what could be the worst? My parents will still love me. I still have a place to go. And it never happened. It never
Yeah,
happened. So, I guess I prepared myself for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Hey there. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. NOSOTROS Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. NOSOTROS Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotrosedu.org.
And now back to the podcast. Can you talk to us about your college experience and what was that like for you?
Well, college experience was different. I was a commuter student and I worked the whole time. I had to, and so I didn't get to do the rush or the, hey, party, to go to school full time and just didn't worry about it. I had to pay for bills, I had to pay for things.
Yeah.
So I felt, a little bit apart from everybody else and being a commuter. And when I went to UT Austin, I was already a junior student. So I wasn't quite a freshman. In those first 2 years, I mean, there's a level of maturity and just understanding that between a junior and an incoming freshman. But I loved being at UT Austin because I was finally away from home. And I was working full time. So I got to enjoy, the independence of finally being on my own, but at the same time, still having a little bit of college. So I felt like I was in two different worlds. But I think it prepared me later on for, always being, ready to work. I wasn't afraid to work. I wasn't something that I wasn't used to. By the time I graduated, I had a pretty healthy work resume. So, yes, I mean, I wish later on, I do wish that I had enjoyed it more with free time. But at the same time, one semester that I didn't work was my worst semester because I didn't, academically, because I had too much free time. You know what I mean? And had I had more free time, I could have gotten in trouble, academically and partying too much. So I kind of felt that, I had to have those responsibilities in order to keep me in line and make it happen.
Absolutely. what led to your decision to pursue a business administration degree? Because that seemingly that just like happened, or was it a decision or a decision process?
My friend, she said,
Your friend.
business degree because it's more versatile compared. That's what her older brother said. It's a little bit, it kind of opens it up and then lets you decide later on. And I always told you know what, get your undergraduate in anything, because later on it's your master's degree that you're going to enjoy or focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also had that mindset, and it was by the one that had the least amount of hours and didn't involve some thesis or something. Because even though I was a writer, I was scared to death of that,
Mm-hmm.
And so I really, that's the main reason. But I tell you what, it's so funny because getting that business degree was what saved my behind when I started working in Trio and was a director of multiple or a brand new program, because I treated it like a small business, because I didn't know the counseling part. So I felt inadequate in, having the credentials to counsel somebody, except for my mentoring experience. But I sure had, knew how to develop a business plan, do a budget and things like that. So I kind of, when you don't know what to do, you want to look busy. So, you want people to think, okay, at least she's, we gave her this job, fake it till you make it.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
really, I threw my business, that business background, management, into running my first Trio program, and it worked. And I think it's been one of the best things I ever did, is to get a business degree.
Did you learn to love it, or did you love it straight up?
I didn't love it straight up. I thought when I graduated, because I'd had such a good experience being a minority peer counselor, and then I was put to be like in Dillard's department store as a buyer, and it was not fulfilling. I thought I've made a mistake, and I've really made a mistake. And I was those years from when I graduated till when I finally got my first Trio job, felt like, gosh, wasted years. They weren't wasted, but I felt lost, and I didn't have enough money to go to grad school. But I was like, I have a business degree, but what am I going to do? I don't want to work in a bank. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And that's when, just by fate, I read in the paper back in the day, y'all, when you used to look for jobs in the paper, that someone was hiring for an educational opportunity program in Fort Worth through the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know what have I got to lose? I'm working in retail right now. I don't like it. Let me give this a shot. And they took a chance. I took a chance on them. They took a chance on me. And here I am, still in Trio 30 years later, never left.
Wonderful. Was this program challenging, your business administration degree? And what do you remember most about it?
Oh my gosh. What I remember most about it is statistics and business calculus.
That sounds tough.
Calculus, with the X's and Y's, and you start with this, if you're trying to staff a busy Walmart, how many cashiers do you have going on and what shifts? I mean, we used to do that back in the day manually with calculus. Now they have software programs to do that, but they wanted us to learn how to calculate the waiting time and all this stuff. Wow. And I just couldn't get it. I was like, it was the most, I had to take it 3 times. I kept dropping it. And finally, it was the last class. I'd taken everything else. I couldn't graduate with everybody because I was still missing that class. So I had to stay in Austin another semester just to take that class. I took it again, and I had to take it at the university. And bless his heart, the teacher was from China, and I could barely understand him. Heck, he could have had no accent, and I still wouldn't have understood the concept, right? But I would go see him during office hours. He would help me somehow. Here we are trying to communicate. I would memorize the symbols. I never quite understood it. And long story short, took the test, the final exam, and I got a D. But that was good enough to pass. And I was an AB student. And when he told me you have a D, and he thought he was disappointing me, he goes, you have a D. He goes, you have D. And I go, I wanted to hug him. I said, really? He was like, you're happy about this? I said, I can pass. I can graduate. He says, well, yes, but it's a D. I said, I don't care. I'd won the lottery. I thought I had a big A.
Yeah.
I was so excited. And he changed my life. I mean, if he had not taken the time, if I'd gotten an F, I think that would have just been it. I would not have graduated. I would not be able to get the trio job that I wanted, and I would not have been able to
Mhm.
have the career. So I always remember him and how he took a chance on me, and he really stuck it out with me. And he gave me my only D, and I love him for it.
uh, Lisa, did you get involved with the University of Texas campus? And were you any part of any groups, organizations, anything like that?
Well, I think through my experience with being a minority peer counselor, then I met some other students like me that were peer mentors. And we were through the business school. So they were starting at the time, the Hispanic Business Students Association. So I became involved in that, which is now a big deal. But back in the day, it was barely getting started, right? So I got involved in that. And then when I graduated, I was more involved with the Texas Exes locally. I was served on several scholarship committees, recruiting students, talking to their parents and doing that. I got super busy running the TRIO program, so I kind of stepped away from it. But recently, I've now come back here in the Dallas chapter, and I've attended receptions and recruitment events. I'm now talking to parents and students about, they're deciding to go either to, and so we try to talk to them about what they, things they have, questions about the university, specific Hispanic and African American students. And so again, it's come full circle that, here I went there by accident, and now I'm involved in making sure, students know the ins and outs of the university. And it's just so to see how far the recruitment of Hispanic and African American students has come in all this time, where they have specific events for them and their parents, is amazing to me. So I'm back to doing that, which makes me really, really happy to be part of that.
Wonderful. Can you talk to us about the moment you graduated from college, and what was that like for you?
It was so, that's darn math class, right? So, I mean, everything was, it was just something, my parents were there, but UT Austin is massive.
It is
So
huge.
the stadium, so they don't call your name out. You don't get to walk across the stage kind of deal, because it was
I
so
didn't know that.
massive.
Uh-huh.
But we had the president speak at our, the commencement speech, as President Bush, Papa Bush at the time, and I was just so, and my dad and mom were in the, I couldn't see them because it was just enormous.
Yeah.
But I knew they were there, and they were
Mhm.
really impressed. What impressed them, the president was there. I mean, that's what really did it for them.
Prestigious.
That the United
Absolutely.
States was speaking at the UT commencement. And
Mhm.
that's when I finally realized this is such a big deal. But let me tell you, I actually got more from when I graduated from Texas Women's University with my master's degree, because it was a smaller area. I did get to walk across stage. We did do the traditional pictures that I didn't get to do when I was I got my undergraduate degree. And again, my whole family was there. I could see them the whole time. So it was just more intimate. And so I got to enjoy it a little bit more than the massive UT one.
Yeah. Now, did you decide that you wanted to pursue your master's degree immediately, or did you get some time off before, like after you graduated from college?
No. I mean, it was not even, I was like, I'm through with school. Yeah, I'm done, one and done. That math class I tell you about killed me. So I was like, never again, never again. So, 13 years later, it was when I finally went back to get my master's degree, and I shouldn't have waited that long. And if I could talk to anybody who's getting their undergraduate degree right now, don't stop, keep going. Whatever you're going through, you can get through it. Do not stop. You can still get the work experience and do it, because once you stop, it's so hard. And it was so hard for me to get back. It was the toughest thing, and it's the toughest thing, but also the proudest thing that I'm of what I was able to do, is to actually come back, because it was a struggle. It really was. So that's why that master's degree to me is more meaningful. If out of the two, they're both, of course, I'm proud of both of them, but that master's degree, with what I was going through, full-time work, family, and everything,
Wow.
man, I don't know how I did it.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm going to ask you here a little bit about more about that. But you also work for multiple TRIO programs, is that right?
Well, I started with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and then we had one talent search, then we had two, then we had an Upward Bound, then we had another Upward Bound. So anyway, I had about 5 TRIO programs where I was split across all 5. Then we got a Youth Opportunity Center, and then we also got another through the Department of Justice, a mentoring program. So what is that? 7 programs I had. So I was called the director of educational and career services at the Boys and Girls Club. So I've never, it's been so long since I was just director of one program. So again, I think my business background really helped with that in letting me manage multiple programs at the same time. Then when I left the club, I didn't want to, but we had to move to here north of Dallas, and there were no TRIO programs here. I did do consulting work, and I started working for Texas Wesleyan University. So that was my first official gig at the university level. And then I worked at UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio, and they had about 6 or 7 TRIO programs. And I was the associate director there, working with the executive director. And I was kind of the person who would manage all the assistant directors for all the TRIO programs. So once again, I specialized in multi-supervision of TRIO programs.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point did you decide in this work experience that you were getting that getting a master's degree would be ideal? And what inspired you to pursue this degree? Now, I'm guessing your best friend was no longer...
Actually, finally, I made a decision on my own. Finally, I did a decision on my own. She went to go to work for Southwest Airlines and retired very early, very wealthy. I should have followed her. What happened to me?
You own a business, though.
I was on a roll, right? I should have kept following her. I don't know what happened. Anyway, probably a guy. But anyway, went the other route to be in the grant funded programs. And so what led me to finally get my master's degree was after I left the club, when I was looking at getting hired as an employee, not as a consultant at a university. I soon realized that I couldn't even apply for entry-level positions in TRIO without a master's degree. They required a master's degree to be an advisor, to be a coordinator. Right. Here I was like, excuse me, I've run, all these TRIO programs. I've written the grants. I've gotten people funded. I have 20, 30 people reporting to me, and I can't get hired as an entry-level person at a university because of their HR stipulations that they required a minimum of a master's degree. Right. So I said, you know what, I need to get that master's degree if I'm ever going to, and then I thought, you know what, with business, and if I want to run my own business, because I was thinking, let me get this. I went to get my master's degree because I wanted to work, or I needed to work at a university. I didn't want to go in as entry level. So that was my main motivation. Not that I would ever have my own business, but to get that darn master's degree so that I could actually work someplace other than an agency. So Absolutely. That was the motivation. And I picked a master's degree because I'd had the career with my business degree, and I didn't want to start all over again. So that's why Texas Women's University had an executive master's of business program, which was fast tracked. And also they took into consideration your work life experience in lieu of admissions testing, the GRE, because I'd been out of pocket for 13 years. And remember how much fun I had with math before. There was no way I was going to score very high on the GRE. Right. So they were starting a new program, and they said they would look at my experience as an interview, and they said, we would like to offer you a slot in our first graduating class of our executive MBA program. So I took it.
Wonderful. Can you talk to us about that grad school experience? What was it like?
Well, I was working, and so everyone else was working, and people would be flying in for it. That's when executive MBA programs were the deal, and nothing was virtual. I mean, we back in the day, y'all, I know there was no Zoom. Can you imagine that? So it was intense, there was always, and that's what it brought me back to the days where you do case presentations with your fellow classmates. But back in the day we were all younger, and now we were like adults ranging in age, and that was a whole totally different thing, working on a team with people you didn't necessarily pick and dealing with their schedules and all that stuff. So it was intense, it was stressful, but we had really good speakers that were actually, what I liked about Texas Women's program is that they had business professionals teaching. That was a requirement. Everyone that was teaching also is currently running or a CEO of a company. So I really enjoyed that real life connection. And I also really enjoyed the business, the business plan development of it, because it was right up my alley. And that's when I started thinking that maybe I could do my own business. But at the same time, it was like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, if I don't get a real job at a university, maybe I could have my own business on the side.
Right.
As a hobby, as extra money, but never my full-time gig, because I got to work for someone who pays benefits. I got to have some stability. So, that's what I was thinking initially, but it really prepared me to do these on the fly discussions, presentations, and also it taught me how to cover for other people that didn't rise to the occasion, without, letting anyone else know that we were mad at them for not, because you can't do that. You can't show that you're divisive, and I learned that also from the kids and parents in our trio programs. If they sense the team or the project staff is not on the same page, they ain't gonna want to be part of your program, or they can feed on those weaknesses. So I'd say, look, we need to talk about this and be on the same page. At least, let's duke it out privately, but in public, we're going to go in like we're best friends. Okay. Deal with us later, because if they see that we're falling apart, who wants to be part of a thing that people are falling apart in? Right. So make it till you make it.
Absolutely. So this now, I think right there in your moment in grad school, your mind was percolating on starting your own business. So what inspired you to form NOSOTROS Education Center?
Not that one friend, but my other friends in trio.
Other friends. Okay.
Through trio, my other dearest and greatest friends are people that I've known now because of my interaction with being a trio director, going to trainings, conferences. You're part of the same, going through the same things, and you bond with them. And so we meet up socially at these conferences and hang out, and they would find out that I, was using a database program, and I kind of figured out how to use it with my own cheat sheets. So they would say, well, can you help me with it? So I said, sure, I'll help you, because you're my colleague. I want you to, I don't want you to have a terrible holiday season. Here's your AP. Let me show you a shortcut. So then that kind of grew into the point where the company itself that developed the software, I was a customer, but then they asked me to do trainings on my in-service days or vacation days. They would ask me to train because they felt another director teaching directors was the connection, or they were able to cover things or answer their questions differently than if it was a computer programming person trying to talk to a director,
Right.
So anyway, started doing that, and that started picking up. Whereas when I finally left being a full-time director, then this company basically brought me in almost full-time to travel and to work with trio programs on that. From that interaction, by being put out there to provide national trainings on site to trio programs to use this database program, I would also find myself talking to the directors about other aspects of their program. Management, budgeting, regulations, all this other stuff. And so, that started another part. That started with me, them contracting directly with me to help them with these now what we call consulting services.
Right.
I didn't know it at the time. I was just trying to help them out. And so that is what, little by little, almost overnight, I was going to just do it until the gigs ran out and I had to get a real job.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm still doing that. So I'm still waiting for the next, and so word of mouth. And there at the time, there was hardly anybody specializing in this. And so they kept me busy. They kept me busy between that software company and with all these different gigs coming in, that by accident, I created NOSOTROS Education Center. And here we are today. I really didn't, even though I had the capability of doing a business plan and have done business plans for undergraduate and graduate school, I never really did one for my company. I didn't have to, thank God, knock on wood. I didn't have to go to the bank and convince investors that, please invest in my company. I just, by the luck, and by my friends in Trio has been very, very good to me. I know it's been very good to a lot of students, a lot of parents, but it's been very good to me because it's allowed me to do what I love to do and make a living, helping students and parents through helping the advisors and directors that are managing the programs.
Wonderful. What services or programs does NEC offer?
Well, we offer right now we're well known for, I think, the grant writing, but actually that's not where it started. It started with database training, customization, started with virtual, well, at the time, but technical assistance, like especially for a brand new project. Or if the director had been out for a while and they had a new director and they needed someone to help guide and be a mentor, basically, again, a mentor to that director, providing them with anything and everything to get them back on track. We do compliance assessments. We do mock compliance assessments. We mimic what the Department of Ed would be looking for. Oh. We try to get people organized so that they can be compliance ready at any time and stay organized. We also help with project evaluations, external project evaluations. We also help with policies, procedures, manuals. And then, of course, the proposal writing workshops, technical reviews, proposal development. But we also offer a lot of free webinars because I always want to make sure that, because I know how long it takes to get something approved for your budget. Even if it's to pay for a $25 thing, you might have to, wait 4 weeks to get approval. So I want to offer, or always continue to offer, free things, free informational, webinars, so that people don't have to pay us a penny and still learn, and we can share information. So that's basically what we do is provide anything we help projects get funded, and then we help them stay funded by providing these essential services to improve the quality of their services and their outcomes to participants.
That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about being an organization that helps secure TRIO funding? What are the most challenging and rewarding aspects of your job?
Well, it's always rewarding when you get a perfect score on a grant proposal and the client is getting millions of dollars, or, with our TRIO programs, it may not seem like a lot of money each year, but it's for 5 years. So it adds up, so we're always excited about that. And also, the stress of having, people's, not only students served, but people's jobs, these are people's positions so it's very, very stressful. So that's the challenging part, is having the stress. But then the benefits, or the great feeling that when you get it funded, outweighs that. And we just love, we thrive on when the awards are out. We never get tired of that. We love to see success rates and people getting funded. It's so empowering to know that the words you put on paper translate to funding that helps impact lives. Mm-hmm. The challenging part is that it's getting very competitive because the money is drying up, and a lot of the colleges and sometimes the agencies don't have the hard data that's necessary now to make a case for why they need the funding. People will tell us, well, we know we have a lot of low-income students, and we know that they're suffering, or they're academically lagging behind others. And we have to be the bad guys and say, well, I need the hard data. I can't go just by the, I feel you. We can use the feeling there, but I still have to present it. We're required to do that. So that's the challenging part, is where I have to tell folks, I know you have a need, but I can't demonstrate it for you with the data that you don't have the data for it. And so that's the hard news.
Yeah. So aside from funding, what else does NEC do to assist the TRIO community? You mentioned some great benefits like program development, policies and procedure manuals. Are there any other types of assistance that you provide the TRIO community?
Yes. Well, I think the webinars, because we're constantly offering the free webinars, like how to work on your APR, how to unpack the instructions, looking at ways to work on your delivery of services. We offer free workshops on the curriculum you might want to utilize, not only how to get organized, but also we've developed like a shopping list of vendors that most of my team are former directors, of people we've looked at and said, you know what, if we were currently directors, we would buy their products too. So we're kind of we'd like to be a clearinghouse, basically, of not just, if you can pay us, great. If you can't, please come to our website anyway. Look at our free resources, our free webinars. We're trying to help even if you can't pay us a dime. And that's what we try to offer to the TRIO community. Because it's not just, oh, let's do this just to be nice. No, we have a vested interest. My interest is, if you stay in business, then I stay in business. Even if you don't give me a penny, we're only as strong as our weakest link. So I need y'all to stay in business, even if you can't afford it now, or you're not being allowed to for whatever reason, maybe in the future, or you can be around to be in a position to make that decision where we can make it happen. So, it's not just to be a nice person or anything. It's to make sure that people are getting the help that they need and can stay funded.
Wonderful. NSE has been around for about 30 years, right? Or do you have 30 years of experience doing this work?
I have 30 years. I started in 1994.
Wow.
30 years in TRIO. And NEC is 20 years old. So
20. Wow.
Yeah. So we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So
well,
it's
happy
really
anniversary.
And that's what I should have said. What's the proudest thing is that I never thought I'd have my own business, but to say that it's been around for 20 years. But I'm also remembering that the TRIO programs that I started, are still there after 30 years. And wow. I never thought we'd make it after the first year. I would come crying thinking, again, like with school, I'm just going to work my butt off until they fire me. They're going to fire me. They're going to fire me because they're going to figure I don't know what I'm talking about. And here I am still waiting to get fired 30 years later. But that should be I completely forgot about it. It seems another lifetime. But yeah, they've been around 30 years and our company's been around 20 years.
20 years. So what's your vision for this company looking ahead? And are there any services you're hoping to add?
Yes. In fact, the buzzword is dashboards, that people want to do a representation of their outcomes. So what we want to start offering is, taking your APR, which is not the most fascinating document ever. It's Snorville, it's Stressville, the spreadsheet and all that. We want to take it and make it like make a visual representation out of it and make it attractive, illustrated way to show folks. And the target audience I'm looking for is not necessarily the parents and students, but to other stakeholders, like the powers that be at the university, or for the pre-college programs, the administrations or school boards, to let them know, because nowadays we don't like to look at long reports, right, with a lot of narrative or a lot of spreadsheet. We like brief, colorful things that, stress certain things. So I want to now branch into being able to market or to develop documents that will help TRIO programs ultimately in their not only recruitment, but getting support from these entities that they desperately need in order to have access to students by having these visual representations of their performance outcomes. So we're trying to come up with a name for it, but I think we're like outcome performance report that takes your APR and puts it into, some sort of a more appealing marketing piece. Again, based on my marketing background, trying to do that. And we have a really great crew team that, has a lot of business experience that, helps us with that. The other thing is I want to branch out into diversifying so that we're not just trying to get TRIO funding, but we have started getting Title III. It's still Department of Ed, CAMP, HEP, basic needs. I want to start diversifying into other federal funding opportunities for colleges and universities and agencies. But also I want to look into the private sector. My dream would be to go to companies and have companies fund an Upward Bound program completely, or a talent search program that is a write-off for the company. And not only would it be set up to help the individuals and families and students in their target area or in their service area, but also to help their employees and their employees' children, the children of their employees. And if it's a private-based one, then hopefully I won't have the restrictions of the low-income first generation, which, don't get me wrong, I see the need for it, but at the same time, sometimes they're so restricting, right? Because it is federal.
Certainly.
And I would love to venture into getting companies to host TRIO-like programs.
That's wonderful. That's a great goal to have. If a TRIO representative wanted to get a hold of you, or any really grant writer or a program seeking to get funding, how can they do that? How can they get a hold of you?
The best way is to go to our website. Just Google NOSOTROS Education Center, NOSOTROS Education Center. And you can go to our website and check it out there. Also, you can become a free member and receive our blog postings. You just give us your, you become a free member. There's a little, it's super easy. Or you could just answer our chat if you want to chat and ask about one of our services. But again, if you want to unsubscribe and get tired of receiving my blog posts, fine. No feelings hurt. You can unsubscribe really easy. And that's what I made sure. I said, look, let's make it easy for people to sign up. But as easy as they sign up, I want to be able for them to sign off if for some reason they don't want to receive anything from us. So that's the best way to reach us off the website via email as well. I never pick up the phone. I use the phone for everything except talking on it, right? Emails, text messages, and things like that. So that's the best way to reach us.
Right on. Is there a consulting fee associated with the initial call or outreach?
No, there's not. Actually, there's a Calendly link. I think I'm saying that right, where you can set up, and we offer a free consultation so that we basically talk about things and see, if there's anything, what service based on your budget and what other, items or things you want to talk about. We try to talk about what your need is and prioritize, and also about your budget. What can you afford? And we're very, we've got prices, but we've been known to accommodate and bundle things as needed.
Right on. Outside of TRIO, what other organizations has your company helped?
We've done a lot of with colleges and universities. We've done a lot of the Title III, the parent, the camp program, where we're helping individuals, also migrant students, things like that. We've also worked with the Department of Justice, Department of Labor, state departments of education, helping that. So we are trying to diversify a bit, but I would say 90% of our work is still TRIO related, which is not bad. But like I said, I'd like to diversify and find out what's out there. But let me tell you, TRIO keeps us pretty busy, and
Right.
TRIO's been good to us. So I want to make sure I'm always available for TRIO stuff.
Wonderful. If somebody listening to your podcast says, you know what, this is wonderful. This work sounds like something right up my alley. I really love what she's doing. What skills would someone need to have in order to work in the field that you're in?
I think, again, it goes back to having the experience of not just with one program, but several programs. I think it comes with years of experience. Also having a background in having funded successful programs, running successful programs, also being flexible, also having a business sense, that it's not just about advising and counseling, but also knowing how to manage a budget and actually sticking to that budget and making those hard decisions, when some things you can't do, and sometimes you can't hire the right person you want to hire. And I think, people have asked me, well, I want to be a consultant. And I said, you know what? I never actually said I wanted to be a consultant. I became that because of my experience. So I tell them, get the experience, get your master's degree, but also make sure you have some real life experience in what you want to advise people in, because it just makes more sense, right? You don't have to memorize something if you understand it. And if you understand this type of work, but understand from a director's viewpoint how to manage these multiple programs, that's what really is going to assist in possibly being a consultant as well.
Awesome. What advice would you give to TRIO participants, whether they're in high school, middle school, college, or trying to get back into college? What advice would you give them if they're listening to this podcast?
Wow. I would say, you know what, never, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Never give up. Just when you think someone is trying to tell me I shouldn't do this, like all the, I've got this, and this. And I think we're quick to try to look for excuses why we shouldn't go after something, right? Don't let it stop you. Keep going forward. We have a lot of things going on right now in this world. It's to my pre-college students, I feel for y'all, because you had to grow up very fast because of COVID. that we never had to deal with something like that. At least my generation didn't have to deal with that. And that's very jarring. And I think with everybody. So it's been really a challenge to virtual learning is great, but some people, they're tired of it, right? They want to take a gap year. And my trio participants, please, yes, I understand wanting to take that gap year, but please don't make it more than a year, or at least take something, even if it's virtual, to keep you in that mind and that college going set. Because I think the more you stay away from it, the harder it is to get back into school, whether you're going from high school to college or in the middle of college or dropped out or want to go back to grad school. If you've been thinking about it and thinking that it's not a good time right now, let me tell you, it's never a good time. It's never going to be a good time. So do it as soon as you can. And I do it. And if anything, you'll be proud of yourself for even trying. But guess what? I bet you most of y'all, because you have that determination and that need and want to succeed, you will succeed. You got to want it.
That's awesome. Great advice. How about word of advice or something you would like to say to trio professionals across the nation?
My trio professionals, let me tell you, I know I've been in trio, it seems like forever now, 30 years, but I tell you what, when was COVID? It's been 3 or 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
I think I'm starting over, right? It feels like so long ago, but really it wasn't. But in the trio sense, I, as a professional, I feel like I'm learning again how to identify, recruit, and serve students post-COVID. We have not bounced back yet. We are trying to. Every single program is struggling. Don't think it's just you. It is across the board. It's hard to hire people. It's hard to keep people. It's hard to have students come back and participate in either in-person or online learning. Enrollment's down, things like that. But I always think, things seem to be worse before they get better. And that we, stick, don't give up yet. Don't go off and do something else. Hang in there. I truly feel that good things are going to start happening, and that we're going to bounce back and be able to not struggle so much with recruitment and keeping students interested in coming to the program. I know that's probably the hardest thing you guys have had to go through, and it's very different from anything we've experienced. But I think we're getting experience doing it. And whenever you have experience, you tend to get better and look for different ways. So think outside of the box. Refresh yourself on the regulations. The more you know about the regulations, it's ironic that actually the more you find out which you have flexibility. So I would urge all my trio colleagues, whether you're brand new or been in trio for a while, to go through a run through the regulations to notice how much flexibility you have in your identification, recruitment, and selection plan and delivery of services so that you can bounce back from COVID. That's
great advice. Are there any books, movies, TV shows, podcasts, or other general entertainment activities that you would recommend to the audience? I'm guessing pickleball is up there, and hopefully you're recommending this podcast.
This podcast for sure, because it's been great just talking to you and seeing all your other guests and knowing that you're not the onlyest one, and that you're going through this together and that there's a community out there supporting you for sure. But for the really, I guess mindless stuff, I like to listen to podcasts of history, or I don't know what's wrong with me, but I hate to say
there's nothing wrong with you.
Disasters, but I like the ones about disaster. About the greatest disasters in history. I don't know what's wrong with me. I listen to that, and also about the Apollo 13 podcast. That was really fascinating to me. All they went through and they made it happen. So I love a good success story. Of course, the sports stories, the true life sports stories. I love those documentaries about people who have persevered in their sport or overcome stuff. I just eat that up. So to me, that's, I guess, a motivator. Like, no matter where you start from, is not, be like cliche, is not where you start, but where you end. And you never know what anyone else is going through. But I in a way get motivated by seeing these true life stories, that happen, either podcasts or movies.
I love that. That's very inspirational. Love it.
It is. I love it.
Lisa, can you describe yourself using only one word?
I would say I'm determined.
Determined. I love it. So that's going to be the title of your podcast, this episode.
Determined. I'm glad because my other choice was strong-hearted. So
Ooh, strong-hearted.
With determined.
Okay, so determined or strong-hearted? Because strong-hearted, you can hyphenate it and make it one word.
That's true. I don't know. Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah, feel free. Thank you so much, Lisa. This was just a pleasure to have you on the podcast. You've been just a wonderful conversationalist. I love talking to you and about your company, NEC. I hope to have you again on the podcast soon.
I would love to. Anytime you want to talk, just you know where to find me.
Wonderful. Lisa, we have a tradition on the Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have the guests sign off. Do you care to do the honors?
I would love to. Hi, this is Lisa Ritamozo, and I'm the Executive Director and Founder of NOSOTROS Education Center. I attended the University of Texas at Austin to get my bachelor's degree in business administration. I went on to attend Texas Women's University to get my master's in business. And I want to tell you that hook 'em horns and Trio works.
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a Trio program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Trio. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk Trio. We want to get your story to the public.
That was our guest, Lisa Retamozo, Executive Director and Founder of NOSOTROS Education Center. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your educational journey. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, TrioJoblist.com, Jaded Electronics, NOSOTROS Education Center, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor via Patreon by placing an ad on our podcast. Email us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is at Let's Talk Trio. One more time, that handle is at Let's Talk Trio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. This episode was recorded Monday, October 30th, 2023. Remember to always exercise your right to vote. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.